War has befallen the Light No Sky planet, but can the Brew crew come together and clinch a victory for Captain Steve? Let's find out. Hey travelers, welcome back to Ghostlight. Today's the day that we've been preparing for. It's PvP day on the Light No Sky planet. But what does that mean exactly? Well, 3 content creators got together, decided to play No Man's Sky as if it were Light No Fire, the upcoming title from Hello Games. Those creators are Captain Steve, Professor Cynical, and Ricey Starship Emporium. Now, with each creator, a faction sprung up on the planet, and today's the day that those factions battle for supremacy. That means everybody on the planet is in PvP at all times. If you see a player with a survival icon, that means that they're still in game and they're open for battle. If you see a player with a creative icon, that means they've already been killed or they're opting out of the PvP event. My faction, the 07 Brew crew, led by Captain Steve, decided we'd meet up at 10 a.m. UK time, which is about 5 a.m. here on the East Coast. But when we arrived and grouped up, we quickly realized that the No Man's Sky servers were not up to the task that day. Despite the other factions being active on their discords, we just couldn't see them in game. We did see a text prompt indicating that Spotted Badger had been taken out by poisonelvis, so I set out to find him. And when I did, I sent a few blaze javelin rounds his way, causing some damage, but he soon disappeared. Now, I didn't realize at the time that he was in creative, and he posted to the Discord that he died of fall damage. Now, I told him that I was claiming this as my own kill, but to be honest, I don't think it was. Either way, 07 in the chat for poisonelvis, way to get us started off today. Next, we saw that Professor Cynical was trying to get in game, but was having similar issues. After several reloads and some restarts, eventually, I ended up in a group with the 2 faction leaders, Captain Steve and Professor Cynical. Now, Cynical put his video out earlier that morning, outlining the resistance he met from both the game servers and the unity of the 07 Brew crew. It seemed that while pursuing Mike the Man-Child, he managed to get snared in one of Stormageddon's traps, hitting him with toxic damage. After managing to break free, Stormageddon, Ominous Gaunt, and Jordan Top all appeared in his instance, as did Jackpot Ninja and High Tech Man. And that group stayed on him, just annihilating his shields and bringing him to 1 health. But, once again, multiplayer was multiplaying, and suddenly, Cynical rift walked from that fiasco right into my and Steve's instance. And the rest of the Brew crew just disappeared. Now, it's no secret that Cynical is both a formidable opponent and a bit of a trickster, so I kept my blaze javelin drawn on him as he and Steve discussed the issues of the morning and what had just transpired. Sure enough, I began to see multi-tool fire, and Steve signaled that he was taking boltcaster damage. So, I laid down some cover fire, but because the crew had already taxed his shields and health, the professor was taken out of the challenge. 07's in the chat for the good professor. You were a worthy adversary this season, but why be a cynic when you can be a ghost? From there, Steve and I linked with Meogi, the pet master. Now, we had heard he had created some attack pets, and we've seen his pet Sentinel Walker in action, so we were ready for anything. Now, I made a point to confirm he wanted to take us on 2-on-1. Once he agreed, we were off. Now, we were expecting a pet, but we were met with another surprise. Meogi came out, guns a-blazing, literally. He had brought with him the rare incinerator. Now, luckily, we both knew better than to get too close to an unknown multi-tool, which rendered this incinerator ineffective, really. A few plasma grenades, some burn damage, a few javelin hits, and the great Meogi fell. Oh, 7 Meogi. Always a pleasure, sir. Now, it was an early and busy morning, so after some celebration and a photo op, I logged out with plans to pop on periodically to look for that other faction leader, Ricey of Ricey Starship Emporium. During one pop-in, I encountered Captain Steve, Ominous Gaunt, and High Tech, and I joined their fight against my Season 1 nemesis, Bubukty. Unfortunately, I forgot to push record and capture this battle, but thankfully, you can check out this battle in its entirety over on Captain Steve's channel. Link in the card above. Now later that day, Steve put out on Discord that Ricey was planning to be online at around 9:30 p.m. UK time, about 4:30 for me. Now, it's a holiday weekend here in the States, and I have some family visiting, but I managed to make my way back to my office, and I hopped online with hopes to bring an 0-7 victory today. Once in game, I could see a few of the crew, but I noticed some of the Empire players in my nearby list. So I took flight, thinking at very least I could thin the herd before Ricey arrived. Now, Captain Steve joined my game, and instantly, everyone else left the planet. Another multiplayer issue. So, after a brief discussion, we decided to attempt to hunt Ricey in ambient multiplayer that is not grouped up. But after we parted, I could no longer see the captain. However, once all of the other players loaded in, I could see Ricey. I could see him in my nearby list, but I couldn't see his icon in game. I could see Tailman's player icon, so I thought maybe they were very close together and No Man's Sky was just prioritizing one icon over another. So I stopped by to get a closer look, and I sent some Blaze Javelin rounds that way, but they didn't seem to land. So I took to the sky again, but this time I noticed more than one flashlight on the ground. So I decided there must be some players that I just couldn't see yet, and I hopped off my worm, launching some plasma for good measure. I could see weapons fire, and I was worried I was dropping in on a battle already in progress. Now, I didn't realize Ricey was live streaming, and they were tracking my entire movement. I also didn't realize that that weapons fire I was seeing was directed at me. So I hopped on my small bird to get a closer look. I hopped off my bird to a vantage point that overlooked their position. In Ricey's video, it seems that he continues to follow my bird, not realizing I'm no longer on it. I'm standing on a hill across from him. Once I dismiss my bird, in case I need to make a quick exit, he finally sees me, but it's already too late. One detail I enjoy from Ricey's angle is the red muzzle flash from my Blaze Javelin. And just like that, the good Captain Ricey is out of the match. 0-7 to you, Ricey. I'm sorry that this is how we had to meet in game. Much respect, sir. Again, I had no idea Ricey was live streaming the event at the time, and I kind of felt a little bad. But he let me know on Discord he was live streaming, and I tuned in just in time to hear him calling for other players to join on his location to take me out. No worries, I would have done the same thing. Now first, Tailman appeared. Now I was tracking Tailman earlier, which is how I found Ricey. We exchanged fire. I kept with a pulse spitter and plasma launcher for the burn damage, and I was quite impressed with how he was holding up against it. Now, eventually he did escape into a cave, and I lost him. It wasn't until later when editing the video, I realized that he had just fallen out of instance again. But by now, Captain Steve was back, and he was reporting that BikerRob, another Empire player, was on the attack against some of our brew crew members. BikerRob It's the one responsible for all of these fantastic Zoo Memorial kaleidoscopes that we can see around the planet. Now, regardless of this kindness, it's PvP day. So Steve and I laid into him, and Rob actually seemed more focused on me rather than taking out the last remaining faction leader. But eventually, he was added to the ever-growing list of felled enemies. 07 in the chat for BikerRob. Good game, sir. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this PvP finale to Light No Sky Season 2. Please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. The biggest of shoutouts to my YouTube members at the Riftwalker level, BiosF2, and Raging Furball, and my interlopers and friend entities as well. I'm Ghost, and as always, dear Riftwalkers, I'll see you tonight.